So after 12 harrowing days of airstrikes, missile barrage, and regional tension, finally, the President of the United States yesterday declared a ceasefire between Israel and Iran. The announcement met under mounting global pressure and growing domestic unrest, masked a temporary halt to a conflict that has shaken the world's political and economic foundation. But make no mistake, this ceasefire is not peace. It is a pause, uneasy, fragile, and overshadowed by the blood already spilled. What began as a so-called preemptive strike over Iran's alleged nuclear ambitions has now exposed deeper fractures. Number one, the West's selective morality, the Middle East's enduring volatility, and the global public's growing resistance to manufacture war. Although the US president positioned himself as a broker of peace in the final hours of the conflict, let's not forget, he had taken side. In the closing day of the confrontation, the United States claimed it had successfully destroyed Iranian nuclear facility, a move many viewed as the climax of American support for Israel's campaign. But Tehran fired back, not just with words, but with missiles. And also, Iran dismissed the US claim as a bluff, saying the alleged nuclear site was untouched, and to prove it wasn't backing down, it unleashed a retaliatory barrage of missiles aimed directly at the US Al Udeid air base in Qatar. This wasn't just a strike, it was a message. And then just like that, the US president took to Truth Social, not the White House press room, and declared what many saw as a horrid and fragile ceasefire between Israel and Iran. He claimed that both sides almost instantly sought peace, painting a picture of leaders suddenly eager to halt a war they had just escalated. But observers said the announcement reeked of desperation, not diplomacy. Let's be honest, this wasn't a clean negotiation table in Geneva. It was a damage control. After nearly 2 weeks of airstrikes, counter-attacks, soaring oil price, and growing protests in America, the illusion of control was crumbling. And so, in a late-night social media post, not a formal address to the nation, the commander-in-chief tried to rewrite the story. History remembers more than tweets. So after 12 days of this fire and fury, both Israel and Iran have finally restrained their arsenals. Both claim victory.
השגנו ניצחון היסטורי, והניצחון הזה יעמוד לדורות. הסרנו מעלינו שני איומים קיומיים מיידיים, איום ההשמדה בפצצות גרעין, ואיום ההשמדה ב-20,000 טילים בליסטיים. אם לא היינו פועלים עכשיו, מדינת ישראל הייתה עומדת בקרוב בפני סכנת השמדה.
Both say their message was heard.
چند تبریک به ملت عرض می‌کنم. یکی تبریک پیروزی بر رژیم جعلی صهیونی است. تبریک دوم مربوط به پیروزی ایران عزیزمون بر رژیم آمریکاست. رژیم آمریکا وارد جنگ مستقیم شد چون احساس کرد که اگر وارد نشود رژیم صهیونیستی به کلی نابود خواهد شد. اما نتوانستن کار مهمی انجام بدن. رئیس جمهور آمریکا در شرح اونچه که واقع شده بود بزرگ نمایی غیر متعارفی کرد و متقابلا جمهوری اسلامی سیلی سختی به گونه آمریکا نواخت.
But if everyone is victorious, then we must ask, what was really won? Israel claimed it defended its existence. Iran says it shatters the myth of American impunity in the region. Let's get honest. If war is a tool of strategy, not just survival, then every missile must answer one question. Did it achieve its objective? Today we assess Israel's war aims, not the slogans, not the spine, but the real outcome. Israel objective number 1, destroy Iran's nuclear program and missile capability.
In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program.
Yes, first objective and loudest was to cripple Iran's nuclear infrastructure, a mission launched under the pretense of existential threats. The US claimed success boldly, stating that Iran's nuclear side were obliterated.
Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
But not so fast. CNN report that US intelligence tell a different story. Preliminary assessment shows that the strike did not destroy key nuclear sites. The core components of Iran's nuclear program remain intact, only delayed by a few months. And how did Tehran respond? The Iranian Atomic Energy Agency said Iran's nuclear program will not stop. They are fully prepared to restart uranium enrichment. If billions of dollars, hours of air power, and international tension but just a month of delay, then perhaps someone is redefining success. Then let's go to objective number 2, regime change from within. Second objective, covert but obvious, was a regime change. The blueprint was familiar: spark internal unrest, amplify discontent, then right the chaos towards toppling the government. It worked in Libya, it worked in Iraq, but this was Iran. And it backfired. Rather than fragment, Iranians rallied hard.
Protests have taken place in Tehran despite mass evacuations there. The BBC isn't allowed to broadcast from inside Iran, but we have this report from Siarvash Ardalan of the BBC Persian service in London.
In the center of the crowd, Iran's president, surrounded by hundreds of party faithful, venting their fury at the United States. What America did is truly unforgivable, says this woman. Iran is stronger than they perceive.
From secular youth to conservative elders, the strike ignited not a revolution but unity. The protests gave way to patriotism. The frustration gave way to resistance. From perhaps the first time in decades, the Iranian government stood on a bedrock of unprecedented popular support. The plan failed, period. And the final objective? Corner Iran into re-signing the US-Iran nuclear deal they had previously rejected. But this also didn't work. Tehran refused to bend. On an interview on national television, Amir Hussein Tahmasebi said it plainly: "We now adopt nuclear ambiguity. We will enrich uranium as much as we choose," he said. "From now on, Iran controls global prices," he added. This was not a concession, that was a declaration, a message to Washington, Tel Aviv, and Wall Street. You may drop bombs, but we still hold the lever to your economy. Let's clearly access the Israel 3 main objective. Nuclear program, it was delayed, not destroyed. The second, regime change. The regime change card backfired completely. Then lastly, diplomatic coercion. It was rejected and replaced with open defiance. So if this was a chess game, Israel didn't checkmate Iran. They struck the chalkboard and found themselves surrounded by consequences. So the question is, did Israel achieve anything in this war? Well, yes, they achieved the one thing war almost always guarantees: dead. Over 600 lives lost. And yes, Iran's nuclear installation did suffer damage. Get me right, damage, not dismantling. Yes, delayed, not complete denial. Let's be clear, this war was not started by Iran. It was Israel that launched the first strike, a coordinated surprise attack on Iranian nuclear and military target. So, what were Iran's objective in this 12 days storm of fire? Iran's primary mission in this war was survival, to defend its soil from foreign aggression, not just from Israel, but from what Tehran has always called US-led hegemonic interference. Yes, Iran suffered. Nuclear facilities were damaged. Key scientists and military minds were lost. Infrastructure battered. But despite over 40 years of crunching sanctions, isolations, and demonization, Iran stood its ground. Their missile system responded swiftly. Their people rallied instead of crumbling. And their enemies who claimed to crush ended up asking for calm. So if the measure of success is deterrent, Iran achieved that decisively. Objective number 2, to deter future aggression. Iran didn't just defend, they deterred. They fired back at Israeli military installation and also Israeli cities. They struck the US Al Udeid base in Qatar and did so publicly and unapologetically. They showed the world, we are not Iraq, we are not Libya. Attack us and you will bleed too. And then something historic happened. It wasn't Iran that called for a ceasefire. It was Netanyahu, the man who started the fire, who reached for the hosts. That alone tells a story. Objective number 3, strengthen internal unity and regional posture. And perhaps the most unexpected achievement in the whole war, unity. A deeply divided nation, politically, economically, suddenly found common ground. Protest turned into patriotism. Criticism of government policies gave way to chants of national sovereignty. Across the region, from Iraq to Yemen, resistance groups declared solidarity. And the message was clear. We may be sanctioned, but we are not subdued. So was it a decisive victory for Iran? No, but it was a strategic success. Iran proved that it could absorb a surprise attack, strike back with precision, and force a ceasefire, all while under siege by sanctions, surrounded by US bases, and vilified by the global media.